In the current episode of Front Effects documentary series, we'll mainly focus on visual effects honored with the Academy Award, choosing as a reference point the winner of the 67th edition Forrest Gump, directed by Robert Zemeckis. How is it possible that Forrest Gump won an Oscar for the best achievement in visual effects if it is very hard to notice at least a few of them? Well, the principal purpose of director and the Industrial Light and Magic crew was to achieve the most realistic and natural perception possible to create scenes where we know about the presence of illusion, but anyway, we are unable to locate deception. Let's take a look at some magic tricks. Number 1. Digital amputation of Lieutenant Dan's legs. It was one of the first visual effects of this kind in the history of cinema, except, most of all, a classic like The Invisible Man, where the result has been obtained by photochemical treatment on the film stock. To depict Lieutenant Dan's amputated legs instead, an actor Canisinis wore a special designed blue socks. During the editing process, the lower part of legs were digitally removed. Okay, but if we know that his calves and feet all the time had to hang limply to not cause movement of the upper limbs, how to explain that non-visible parts of legs are not interacting with different objects surrounding the actor? On the set, some objects had missing parts reinstated in digital way during post-production, with editing shadows and adding some soft animations. All these small details have a huge impact for our perception and make this visual forgery definitely more credible. Today, blue or green clothes, also called chroma key suits, are widely used in many different video productions, when the character inter alia has to be invisible, partially connected with digital image of an animal or robo, and so on. Interestingly, another production of Zemeckis and ILM has won an Oscar for visual effects before, also using this kind of trick. In Death Becomes Her, actress Meryl Streep had to play in some scenes wearing a special blue cap. This made it possible to connect digitally two different shots and create the character with the head rotated by 180 degrees. Number 2. Inserting the protagonist into historical documentary footage of famous figures. Simply putting the main character into authentical historical footage was not a novelty. Previously, Woody Allen used time-consuming and difficult traditional photographic methods to place his title character Zelig into a variety of situations with famous figures. In another example, Last Action Hero, visual effects artists have cut Bogart from Sirocco film and inserted into one of the scenes. It has been done using digital technology by extracting Bogart image from the archival film and carefully inserting him into the new footage using digital painting tools. So, what makes special effects used in Forrest Gump so spectacular? It's because Zemeckis decided that rather than simply show stock footage of the famous figures, it would be far more interesting to see Forrest interact with them. Indeed, ILM broke the new ground in viewing archival footage seamlessly into the film's story, allowing Gump to shake hands with President Nixon, Johnson, and Kennedy.
Congratulations. How do you feel?
I gotta pee.
I believe he said he had to go pee.
How it has been done? Using blue screen, chroma key, rotoscoping, image morphing, and voice dubbing. Hanks performed his part of the scene in front of the blue screen, with markers which indicated position of hand and eyes of the president. His performance had to be perfectly timed to hit each mark precisely. The most difficult shots required to make famous personalities speak dialogue written by a screenwriter. Digital artists determined that the lip-sync shots could be achieved only one way, by digitally manipulating their mouths frame by frame. In another example, in Gladiator, post-production team had a similar problem when the actor Oliver Reed had died of a heart attack before the end of production. Reed's head was masked on to another actor's body. It has been done well enough that while watching you wouldn't suspect anything if you didn't already know about the death of Oliver Reed. Nowadays the technologies are so advanced that allows to use this kind of cool effects even with a much smaller productions, like advertising spots for TV, like this one made by Sky Italy. Number 3. Using the objects which were never present on the film set. Did you ever think about how is it possible that in the opening scene a floating feather has landed so close to the Forrest's shoes? On the other hand, did you know that this ping-pong game was filmed without the ball? In both cases, these objects have been generated and animated on the computer and precisely added to the film. Again, it was necessary to use smooth morphing to replace a computer-generated feather with the real one, which on the set were always next to the shoe of Forrest but digitally painted out. In conclusion, we presented just a few from the 120 special effects shots hidden in Forrest Gump. Robert Zemeckis and ILM team proved just how sophisticated and effective digital technology could be in substituting for reality. Their long-term collaboration had a huge impact on the history of cinema, inter alia by winning 3 times Academy Awards for visual effects. A huge value of their films is maintaining a perfect balance between the plot and hundreds of special effects used. The viewer, therefore, could be more focused on the story and enjoy it, without drawing his attention too much to computer-generated images and so on.